All right, so now we're gonna talk about this. Had to been maybe 97, 98. Likely it was 97. My uncle that stayed in Sacramento, he fought in Nam. You know what I'm saying? Uh, and they had this thing called Agent Orange. Agent Orange was a chemical they sprayed to clear the foliage in Nam because that was like guerrilla warfare. So when the U.S. government decided to go in there and invade the Vietnamese and interfere in their politics, from what I've been told, black Vietnam soldiers would say that they would be friendly with some of the Vietnamese and shooting at them at night. So they pretty much sent black folks into a bloodbath. If you look at any of those documentaries on Vietnam, they pretty much, it was a suicide mission. The U.S. wasn't going to win that one. I mean, So he, Agent Orange was a dangerous chemical. It was something that should have never been used in the first place. And so people that went to Nam, they had to get tested like every 5 years afterwards or whatever. So he was going to drive down to San Diego because that's where they did the testing. I think every 5 years he was driving down there. So he decided to have me come down to Sacramento to visit him and whatnot. And I remember this was 1997. And so he booked a flight for me to come down there. And I stayed with him maybe a week or two or whatnot. And so I went down there. I believe this was 97. I'm quite sure it was 97. So I think that summer I had been working at the What's Up Youth Info line. This had to have been 97, 98. It could have been 96, but I think it was 97. I think it was. I was working at the What's Up Youth Info line. And basically what you do, as I said earlier in the last session, is that you pick up the phone and just say, "Hey, what's up?" or something like that, something corny, and the kids will say, a teenager will call up and they'll ask, let me see if I can find like an image or something like that. It was called a What's Up Youth Info line. And they had this white lady that was our manager. I think now they call it something else. I don't even know if they got it, but I can't find anything. Somebody probably got some kind of flyers or whatnot. But anyway, I got hired there probably because I applied through maybe the Brian Coyle Center in the West Bank or somewhere. I went through it, or I probably went to, as I was saying, to Chicago and Lake. I don't know how I heard about it, but word of mouth got around because we didn't have cell phones back around this time when we was kids. So I probably heard about, we knew that the Resource Center, which is that was on Chicago and Lake, the job center, you just hop on the 21 and you just go up there. And I probably applied. They work on your resume, or they have you sit through a little class and you talk about how to interview and stuff like that, whatever. And then you just pretty much show up, and as long as you can kind of talk a little bit and you don't sound stupid, you'll get a job. So that's probably how I found out about it. But I had to go downtown and work, and I worked maybe 3-4 hours a day or so. I don't know how often it was, but I worked there for a little while, and I think they wanted me to do like a 10-hour shift or something like that. I don't know what it was, but you would be at this park all day promoting or doing something. I think that's what it was. So I think I didn't want to do it, or I didn't like working there, and I didn't like working among this woman. I'm quite sure she was one of these little white liberals. She acted she acted like one of those little white teachers that got a bunch of black kids and be a carpenter, Malcolm, all that kind of, I don't know. I just had that kind of vibe, and that's usually what it is most of the time. But anyway, so I worked with these white women from Croatia. And they was, I remember keenly, they said something about, she said something slick, and I must have said something like, she said something slick to me, or she said something to me, and I worked with her, and she said something slick, and I said and said something to me, and I must have said something like Croatia is garbage or whatever, or you fled from Croatia, something crazy, because there was a conflict in Croatia around that time, or I don't know, there was something going on. So she said, what would you say if I said Africa's garbage or something like, or she said something like that. And I think I must have told her like, I ain't never lived in Africa. So I'm quite sure that they got stuff to eat and they got it going on better than Croatia. I said, from what I could see, Croatia is hurting. You know what I'm saying? So she tried to, she said something slick, and when I said something back, so we kind of got into it or whatever like that. So, this girl was acting real pompous, fresh off the boat. She had the little accent or whatever, and she's fresh off the boat, so she's, whatever. So, we have that or whatever. And I didn't want to go to this thing that they wanted me to go to or whatever, or it was 2 days and 10-hour shifts or something like that. For whatever reason, I wasn't feeling going to the job. So I must have called in sick or something. I can't remember what it was, but I didn't show up. But I told her I didn't want to do it. But, so I must have called, I think my mom must have called the lady up or something like that. And I'll never forget. It was me and my homie Solomon. Me and him took the bus to go get my final check. When I get down there, this heifer gonna say, she ain't got my check. You see what I'm saying? Now, my homie's kind of looking at me like, what do you mean she ain't got the check? He's just kind of looking at me like, okay, what the hell is this? And so she said something like she didn't have my check or something like that. And I had my hours and whatever it was. We ended up going to McDonald's. But so I kind of like was, getting ready to walk away. And naturally what you do is, usually with something like that, there's no other supervisor. So you tell your parents or whatever. And then they, so now if my mom would have been with me during that time, she would have got on her ass like, okay, where's his check at? You can't not pay him. You already said that you have it. So she did have it, but she said she didn't have it once I got there. The conversation over the phone was, you pick up your last check. So I got ready to walk out. Because I was just going to go home, and because I was going to ask my parents. I think my dad might have been in the house around that time. I'm not sure. I don't think so. I don't know. But I was going to ask her like, okay, what do I go about doing this? Because this ain't legal. So when I turn around, get ready to ask for it. Get ready to, get the check. Or get ready to leave. She says she has it. Or she says something like that. So I turn around. And she just holds it out like this, with this face like, or some, the little goofy face. So I'm looking at her, and I walk up to grab my check, and she holds it. And I'm like, what kind of plantation shit is this? Now, what I should have did is snatch my shit. You see what I'm saying? I should have get snatched it. Like, what the fuck is you doing? What that was for her was because she was upset that I didn't do that schedule or whatever the case may be, and I'm leaving because I told her I was quitting. And nosy liberal white women, they always want to know what you're doing. So at that time, I'm too young to really, I don't know I'm not understanding how race soldiers work and how they operate. I'm just knowing that it's a bad vibe, but I can't put a sentence to it. You see what I'm saying? So I had already told her that I had found a job, which was Hardees. Hardees is across the 10th Avenue Bridge, next to the 35 bridge that fell. The 10th Avenue Bridge, a lot of times we ride our bikes or we will walk, and we will go, and them burgers was good around that time, especially the curly fries. Oh man, please. So I had found a job there, and the manager was fair. Never forget her. White lady, red hair. I think she was Irish or something like that. So there was a brother working there. He was the cook. He used to always make me mushroom and Swiss, let me take it home, all of that. You can eat as much fries as you want. They just didn't like me drinking all the strawberry shakes, because I'd be sitting there drinking the shakes. I didn't have to do a lot. All I did is rung people up and just clean the bathroom, so I worked there for a while. My homie will never forget. He's gonna remember this piece of the story. So what ended up happening there is, like I said, I get my check. Before I told her that I was quitting, and I think I told her, I did tell her face to face that I was thinking about finding something else, because she was talking kind of slick to me at the job or whatever it was, and I was kind of like, well, you know what? I found something else. So I don't think I told her that over the phone. I think that was face to face. Oh, fast food's never going to treat you well. I'm thinking to myself, you ain't treating me no better. So not only did the Hardees pay more, but it was right close to the house. I rode my bike to work every time I worked. I typically worked on the weekends. So what ended up happening with me, I got my check from this clown, and I started my job at Hardees. So I'm ringing people up. That was my first job, actually working in the cashier and stuff. I started having some issues because the customers started talking. Them little white college kids at U of M, they start talking crazy to you. Like I'm cashing, giving them their change out. They were saying little fun, weird stuff like, you should have gave me my change with, how you count and change, and then the dollar, $1 may be flipped over from another. It's the correct change, but they wanted it lined up. So, I used to have that kind of stuff going on. And I told one dude one time, I think I told him like, I'm not going to rearrange your change for you, because the way that people gave you the change, they're not giving it to you in a certain way. You just take the money and then you put it in the cash register. It counts your money out. It tells you what you're supposed to give the person once you get it, and you put it in. So I was having little stuff like that, or people coming in with attitudes, and I wasn't having it. I grew up as a young brother. I grew up not with necessarily a chip on my shoulder, but I wasn't just accepting anything from what white people were going to impose on me all the time. I always would kind of buck a little bit. And sometimes I noticed when I be in certain environments, people would, well, man, this going to happen. And I just wasn't accepting it. Damn, I'm still recording. That's crazy. I'm still recording on my other podcast thing. That's crazy. It's nice to have a backup. So I'm not accepting this, y'all. I'm going to stop recording on the podcast thing because I already got the audio. So I'm not accepting just anything. You just say anything to me and doing all that kind of stuff. I've never had that spirit about myself. So, eventually, I think one day I got caught giving my homie like a free pop or something like that. They heard I worked at Hardees, and so I gave him a pop or something like that, and they called it on camera. So she calls me in the office and says, well, yeah, you gave a pop to somebody, so we gonna take you off of the front line, and we gonna put you and have you wash dishes. She thought that was a punishment, but for me, I'm like, oh, I ain't got to deal with these rednecks. Oh man. So I'd sit back there, and I had a system. Basically, I can't remember if it was a machine where you run the dishes through. I think it was, but you just once I get dirty dishes, I just spray the dishes down and run it through that machine, and it just cleans them up. And once I'm done, I go get me some fries and a strawberry shake, and I sit there and I eat the fries back in the kitchen, and go to the brother and be like, man, let me get a mushroom and Swiss. And the brother would just give me the burgers. You know what I'm saying? A burger is sitting around too long, he put it in the bag and be like, here you go. You see what I'm saying? And I think I remember keenly too, man. Like, I think I had, well, I'll save that for another time, because, you know, I'll say that for another time. But yeah, the brother that was working there, you know, he was a little older than me, and he was cool. So I you know, I might have been 12, 13. I might have been 13, maybe 14, but I probably was 13 or something like that. You know, this had to been 97, 98 or whatnot. I think it was 97, or it was 96. It might have been, it was definitely summer. It was summer 96 or summer 97, one of those. So, you know, after that, around that time too. Now I think my dad might have still been in the house, but like I said, it was getting to the time. Matter of fact, working at Hardee's, I wasn't in high school yet. So that had to have been probably around the time I went to California. I stayed for like 2 weeks. So when I get back, in getting ready to go back to school or whatnot, I think, I don't know, around that time, I'm trying to remember if I had a Super Nintendo or not, but you remember I told y'all that story about it was always a problem when I was playing my games for whatever reason. So I didn't want it no more. So later down the line, I think I must have had a little yard sale and was selling stuff in the neighborhood. And then my grandma was having me do some yard work in the yard, and she gave me like $50 or, you know, whatever the case it was. So I take that money, and I think I went to Funko Land. I went to Funko Land around that time. And this is going to be another storyline that we'll have to do, but I won't do that tonight. This is going to be another storyline. But if you look on this screen right here, this is a 64. So this is a little older, or it's a little newer than when the Super Nintendo. If you look at the very bottom, you're going to see, let me see. I don't think you can see it, but if you look right here, you said expected to be available January 28th, 2000. Game Boy Color was out, and these prices expire February 29, 2000. So you get 2 controllers with the 64. The games were always about $50, so they wasn't cheap. That wasn't cheap back then. Okay, so this was around 2000 when 64 came out. 64 was around 200. The only person that I knew with a 64 was this dude that stayed a few blocks away from my grandma's. He was on one of my buses. His name was Gautama Dinka. That was his last name, Dinka. I don't remember where he was from. He's from, his people's from Africa. And I always remember his pops talking about how talented Tupac was. Because I remember when Tupac got killed, he was saying, oh, it's such a shame. He was so talented and so intelligent. So this price at 2000, that was, I think 64 got discontinued around 03 or 04. So 64 was still popping back then. 64 came out around 96, 97, or 98. I believe Nintendo 64 came out around 97, 98, or whatever the case may be. It was about $200. I remember his dad, it was his birthday. And I remember I got invited to his birthday party. He was very spoiled kid, very disrespectful to his father. His dad had worked hard, bought him this Nintendo 64. I think we must have had pizza or something. I went over his house, and you know, and we kind of hung out for a little bit, and we played the 64 or whatever like that. We weren't never really cool like that, you know, because I don't know, it was something about him or whatever. But you know, we kind of hung out for a little bit, but my other homies didn't like him. I think they used to beat him up or whatever, so we really couldn't hang out all that much. But my homie Solomon, I'm gonna send him this video. because he gonna remember this. But he stayed right by the gas station. My homie Solomon used to work at the gas station. So, you know, I should actually get Solomon on and have him on a link where we just talk and kind of just going through the ropes and, you know, about how tech was and what we was doing and all kind of stuff like that. So, you know, yeah, so, you know, but you know, that was that's pretty much my story in the What's Up Youth Info line. When I worked at Hardees, so yeah, I worked at What's Up Youth Info line. I did a program out of the Brian Coyle Center. That might have been 90. That was in the 90s, 95, 96, 97, 98. At some point, I worked at the Mixed Blood Theater. I was getting a little older then. Because I noticed when I started working at the Mixed Blood Theater, and I just want to, this is a very legendary place of the West Bank. If you stayed in the West Bank, you know about this. This is somebody, and it's boarded up. This is closed, man. This is a shame. This should have been a remodeled. The Mixed Blood Theater should have been a remodeled. This should have actually been a great black infrastructure. I don't know who owned it, but foundational blacks or somebody, at least some of even the black immigrants in the neighborhood, somebody should have bought this and remodeled this, and it should have been a top tier. You know, they say it closed Wednesday, July 1st in Minneapolis. This is the Minnesota Daily. So this was from 2020. So it closed 4 years ago. You can see BLM, Stay Strong, Justice. So around the time with the Floyd lynching, it says, in a city once filled with performances now silenced by the COVID-19, Mixed Blood Theater is using this time as an opportunity to present their talents in a new way. MBT introduced Mixed Blood Responds, a campaign inviting and elevating the voices of local artists as they cope with the impact of the lynching, and I didn't say the police killing, the lynching of George Floyd and the subsequent unrest. You see? Now, currently commissioning, now listen to these words, BIPOC artists. You see what I'm saying? So when you hear the minorities and the BIPOC and stuff, it sounds good. But that's just another word to avoid saying black, because right here it says here, commissioned artist Isabel LeBlanc is a Dakotan woman who has focused her piece on indigenous support for Black Lives Matter movement. She says she hopes her short film will highlight similarities between the struggles of indigenous people and black Americans because of their shared history. I'm going to give her credit where credit is due, because yeah, I mean, we do have some similar histories, you know, in that regard to a certain degree there. Remember the last live that I did, or the last thing I did, I talked about the 1866 Indian treaties. Actually, I have to upload that and edit that and stuff like that. So I'm going to try to put all of these in succession. So when you hear me talking about this, you'll hear the next story or whatever. I'm going to see if I can knock out 2-3 more stories tonight. So, you know, but the Mixed Blood Theater, man, I'll tell you a story about that. Let me see if I can get like another. Let me see if I can get another good picture of the Mixed Blood Theater. I never went to a show there, but you know, I worked there. Man, if I could find a good one. That should be something. That should be like a studio or something like that. But see, the neighborhood right now, the neighborhood is so damn janky. If you get a brother that'll fix that up, like that could have been a dope soul food spot or something like that. That could have really been, that's a landmark spot. That's the Mixed Blood Theater is probably nationally known. Definitely locally known. Everybody knows about the Mixed Blood Theater in the state of Minnesota. You've heard about it. That's like our Apollo. Like, man, that's supposed to be like a historical landmark. Like that's supposed to be something like a, you know, right now, the way it's sitting right there, that's supposed to be like a top-notch soul food restaurant or a top-notch, You know what I'm saying? Like some kind of chandeliers hanging, you going in there like that one spot that we went to in New Orleans, that restaurant I went to. You know what I'm saying? It's just, it's when you walk up in there, man, you supposed to be suited and booted. You know what I'm saying? Like that place is supposed to be either a top-notch studio or like a top-notch something that's supposed to be invested in, gutted out and invested in. You know, that looked like the Ghostbuster. I think it probably used to be like an old, I say Ghostbusters, like a fire. You could see, look at the doors, you could see that it's like a old fire truck place, a fire engine, firefighting house, fire engine. You know, it looked. That's what I think it was. I'm not sure, but I'm quite sure it looks like. If you look at them doors, it looked like they used to fight fires, and then they just made it a theater. That's what I think it probably was, but I'm not 100% sure because I don't know the history that deep. But like I said, I worked there. There was this dude that I don't know what we were doing. I mean, we was just like cleaning up and just doing stuff, you know, getting it ready for, you know, so it was like an internship. But around that time, I worked there. I think I started working there because I started working, I'm not sure, but I remember working in some like garden, you know, over there by the Native Projects or something. That was through the workforce center on Chicago and Lake. And I didn't like it or whatever like that. And I think they let me go or whatever. And I think they sent me over to the Mixed Blood Theater. And I was there for a little while or whatnot. But I met some characters there. You know, that's when I started kind of, now they wasn't from this neighborhood, but I met some shady dudes that was working there. And I remember specifically it was this Cambodian cat. You know, he had all these little tattoos and stuff like that. So I think he was, you know, you could tell he was kind of set tripping or whatever like that, you know. And I think one day there was like a presentation and we were supposed to like, we were gonna meet business people. It was something like that going on. And I just thought about another story. Me getting out of high school. It was about this place called it was on Lake called McGizzy Communications, where you learn like Photoshop. Yeah, that's gonna be that ride in the Chevy music. Y'all know my, you know, yeah, there's gonna be some riding in the Chevy music for that one. But this guy, I wore a suit for the presentation. I wore a suit, and I remember the Asian Cambodian, you know, gang dude said something like, "Look at you dressing up like a white man," or something like that. And see, I didn't know enough of my history around that time. I could have told his ass, my ancestors built this land, and damn it, we used to have suits on in Tulsa, Wilmington, North Carolina, Rosewood. We had them suits on. And now think about this for a moment. This was not too far around that time. Let me write this down too, because I got to do a story time on that Rosewood. I got to do one on that too. And I'm going to have to find some more clips for that and stuff, because I want this to be a little interactive. And as I get better with the videos. Around this time, when I was working at Mixed Blood Theater, so you could tell I was a lot older. I was a little more old. I was a little older. I was getting a little bit more polished. So that was beyond 97. That might have been 99. Could have been 2000. Probably 99, 98, 2000. Maybe it wasn't 2000. But at the Mixed Blood Theater, you know, Rosewood came out in 97 by John Singleton, rest in power. Rosewood was out around 97. So remember, I broke my neck to go get that movie. So I was getting a lot more. I was already a little conscious, but I was getting a lot more self-conscious about certain films. I didn't want to see Booty Call. I'm gonna be honest, when I used to see it, I used to think the shit was stupid. I'm gonna keep it real. It's a Black American classic. I thought it was dumb. Booty Call and Rosewood came out close around the wrong time. I had no interest in seeing Booty Call. I still haven't seen it to this day. I wanted to see Rosewood. I was one of them type of niggas. I wanted to see Rosewood. I didn't want to see Booty Call. When I see Ving Rhames come out with them 4.5s on them race soldiers, I said, "Oh, I gotta have that." When he was in them woods and he came out with them double pipes, I gotta see that. I gotta see that. I like that energy. I said, "Yeah, I gotta see that." So but had I would have known, and he was in a suit, had I would have seen that movie around that time and had a little more historical context. When he said that to me about that suit, I said, "Hey, we built my ancestors built this nation. See, your folks is from Cambodia. They ain't never built shit here. They ain't never built nothing. Y'all might have slid down in Long Beach, created some gangs, but y'all ain't never built nothing. Y'all ain't never built nothing that we could look to see and say, yeah, y'all are renowned for building something halfway equal to what we built." So this suit that I got on right here, this is my ancestors used to do this. They used to put on suits and ties. And see, putting a suit on doesn't necessarily mean that you're trying to be white. See? You've heard some of that rhetoric from certain people. I didn't really hear black people say that, because a lot of black folks that used to go to church, they would put on a suit or a tie, or they put something on that's presentable. So I never really heard a lot of people say that. I didn't. When my homies from Chicago, when we were younger, and I used to see them come down to River Bluff after church or whatever the case may be, my homies that had an uncle from the nation, his kids used to be suited and booted. You see what I'm saying? In the nation. Because they have a code of conduct that requires you can't just come in here looking all any old kind of way. You see? You got to come in the service looking like you give a damn. And if you don't, somebody in the nation gonna check you and pull you to the side and say, "Hey man, why you coming up in here disrespecting us, looking like you don't give a damn?" We have to present ourselves in a certain fashion, like we give a damn. That's a code of conduct. Whether you don't like whether or not you like the ideology or not. But see, at that time, I didn't have the wherewithal to see, I was sitting there kind of looking at him like, he's taking offense to me suited and booted. You see what I'm saying? So he's saying that something about me dressing up in a suit like a white man. And he had something on he didn't have like a t-shirt on, I don't think, or nothing. So he was dressed decent himself. You see what I'm saying? But he wants to say that about me because, see, the other black folks that were working there, they come from some of his ilk. I wasn't as advanced. So these are gangbanging ass niggas, and I'm not really subject and used to hanging around all the time the lowbrow criminality class. Now, granted, I had friends that was affiliated. You see what I'm saying? But that wasn't something that when we go out and about, that's imposed on other people. You see what I'm saying? If you're a young black male in Minnesota, your friends are going to come from different walks of life. Yeah, you're going to have some friends that might be affiliated. But that was never imposed when we're out in public and going around, and they just going around telling people, well, yeah, I'm from here and I'm doing this and throwing they set up and all that. I didn't see that because they was trying to get some money. So that wasn't a primary concern. You see what I'm saying? But he's used to, you got to think, some of these folks come from war-torn third countries. So when they get here, when they see a black person, they assume, well, yeah, I'm war-torn like you. He sees another, gang-banging dude. And so then you look at me and you like, okay, well, you gang too. No, nigga. I don't have to subject myself to lawless mentality just because you are 16, 17 and got tattoos all over the place. You see what I'm saying? So I didn't really judge him. I just kind of was like, all right, these guys are a little more advanced than me. But when he said that, now when I really think about that and I kind of peel back the layers, it goes deeper than just, oh, you just trying to dress up like a white person. Now that I think about it now, I didn't think about it till I made this story. I was going to cut the story 15 minutes ago, but I'm kind of like, I met a lot of people from different cultures that had that mentality. Oh, well, you dressed up like this, or you trying to be like a white person. Hey, our folks, man, we used to be suited and booted. You come from a failed homeland, and I'm not denigrating you for that, but you come from a lawless country. So the first thing you think of when you see a black person is, well, he's like Eazy-E. They all like Eazy-E. No, we're not. No, sir. We have Eazy-E's. We have Megan Thee Stallions. We have Ida B. Wells. We have some Sharptons and Jesse Jacksons. We have some plebiscite babbling Negroes. We got some Mayweathers too. We got some Master P's. You see, we have some Mark Deans that built microprocessor computer chips. We have some Marion Croaks that built voice over internet protocol. We have a mixture. You see what I'm saying? Not everybody's Lil Boosie. No disrespect to him. Not every, not everybody is not everybody's a Kodak Black. But when you come from that, and then you come somewhere where not everybody's a Kodak Black, where you come from, you got a bunch of Kodak Blacks. You see what I'm saying? Y'all are looking at it from the standpoint like, well, everybody's just living cutthroat and saying crazy stuff or whatever. And I'm not saying that Kodak Black is, but the stereotype. You thinking we a bunch of crime lords and that's all we do. No, we don't come from a culture of just criminality where we're cutting each other's throat with machetes and chasing each other down with watermelon seeds and throwing them at each other and throwing people off of buildings. No, that's not our culture. We have a small piece of niggas like that. And, we might have a family member that could be like that, into that kind of stuff, but that's not Black American culture. That ain't freedman culture. Every culture has an underworld. You just think that that's just me. No. No, sir. Not at all. That's why I got this suit on. Because I'm civilized. I'm civilized, sir. Yes, I am. I know how to speak. I can speak the King's English, and I know how to speak to you, Mr. Shiny Go Boom. Shiny Go Cambodia. I know how to speak to you too. But see, you don't know how to do that. All you know is nigga shit. All you know is low class criminality, just a Neander nigga shit. That's all you really know. So when you see somebody that actually got some sense, you thinking everybody's supposed to be running around here like you thinking that we all Eazy-E. You thinking every black person is no Vaseline. That's what you think. No, we have Florence B. Price. We have Duke Ellington. Duke Ellington had a suit on. He wasn't trying to be white. White people love to come see him, and they paid him. And he's a legend. You ain't got no Duke Ellington in your culture. You ain't got no Count Basie in your culture. You ain't got it. If you do, you got it from us. So, anyway, there goes my white man in the suit rant. But let me see. Do we got any? Yeah, I'm not gonna kick the can any lower than it needs to be. I was gonna look. I was gonna Google it and see. Hey, do we got any Cambodian Duke Ellingtons? There's some. Of course, they got some talent. I just know the biggest talent I know is a Crip from Long Beach. That's all I know. I just know some Crips from Long Beach, from the east side of Long Beach. That's the only musical talent I heard. So yeah, but yeah, he kind of looked like him. He looked like he looked like a stupid young. He kind of looked like this dude. So, but yeah, that's my story, man, on the What's Up Youth Info line and mixed blood theater and all of that kind of stuff. So that was an important piece of my childhood. You know what I'm saying? And I think I'm gonna talk about. I won't do the Rosewood one day. I think I'm gonna go into the McGizzy. I'll go into McGizzy at some point. So we'll see how that goes. All right, y'all. Take care.